and he has worked in the field of supply chain and data analytics. And nowadays, he is active member of Young Thinkers Forum. So I welcome you both, Amit Agrawal ji and Prashant ji. Welcome.
Dhanyawad.
Now I invite Prashant ji to please start the book discussion with the author.
Dhanyawad, Ashutosh ji. So, Namaste Amit ji, and thank you very much for joining us today. So, actually, मैंने आपका जब Facebook post पढ़ा कि आपने इतनी अच्छी book लिखी है, तो मैंने सोचा कि चलो let's have a conversation. And so thank you for signing up. और आज का format, as we discussed, कि आप पहले एक review करोगे book की, and then once 30 minutes, 40 minutes के लिए review हो गया, उसके बाद we can have a conversation and dialogue and question answers as well.
Yeah. So shall we start?
Yes, please.
Yeah. So good evening to everybody, and good morning to my fans and followers living in America. So I thank you all for giving me this opportunity to talk about my book. And I thank Mr. Prashant Parikh and his Young Thinkers Forum team to give me an opportunity to talk about my book. So actually, to be very frank, this is the first creative work of me. Earlier, I used to, as you told the others, that I used to climb the mountains and ran the marathons. So I used to spend all my creativity there. But I found something was missing there. So there was a seed in me to write something important. But due to some laziness and inertia, I could not write. But in the lockdown, I found the opportunity. So there was less work and it was work from home. So I could manage the time and I could write the book. So actually, we all fed up. We all were taught the left liberal narrative of NCERT books. So that was totally one-sided narration was there. So and we were told that we were a sort of a nation of losers. We ever existed only to be invaded either by Turks or then Mughals and then Britishers. So, but when I was in IIT Roorkee and we had a very fabulous library there. So I chanced upon the many authors there, like Jadunath Sarkar and J.L. Mehta. So then I found that there's entirely another version of history. So I thought if I get the chance, then I will write something substantial on this. So in the lockdown, so I wrote this. So the basically book deals with the early Indian medieval era of 7th century to 12th century. So the earlier chapters deal with the ancient era, wherein I tried to explore the glory of our ancient civilization, how rich we were, how advanced we were, and we were in fact classified as the cradle of the human civilization. And during from 500 BC to 600 CE, in that 1 millennium, we ruled virtually over half the Asia and without lifting a sword. So that was incredible. But after that, something happened, and when this invasion started, first from Arabs and then Turks, then we lost somewhere in the middle, and then the decline commenced. So I tried to examine all those reasons, all those conditions by which we lost our way. Okay, so I will share his PPT. Yes. Then we will. Are you able to see the screen?
Yes, we are able to see it.
So this is my book. So I will start with this couplet. इतिहास के पन्नों में युद्ध भी है, बुद्ध भी है, राग भी है और द्वेष भी है. The history especially is sometimes very brutal, very savage, very violent. So it has love also, it has murders also, assassinations also. So this is a very famous saying that those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it. Yes. So everybody must have heard this. So it is very important to know one's roots, one's history, and that too the correct version. actual truth what has happened. So like I will repeat once again that we were taught the left liberal narrative of NCERT books, which were heavy on the glory of the invaders. So the first chapter, initial chapters for the meteoric success in ancient era. And then because of this, most of the Hindus grew up having a negative thoughts about our own religion, about our culture, our traditions. So generally, they were the first one to denigrate our religion. Mm-hmm. So my purpose is to bring this group back into the Sanatan Dharma. So to tell about our glory. So the purpose of the another purpose is and to examine our follies and mistakes which we have committed in the medieval era, and to tell that we have put the stiff resistance to the invaders, and there was no cake for them, and again to tell that the conditions which existed 1 millennium back at the time of Muhammad Ghaznavi or Muhammad Ghori, those conditions still exist. So I have tried to write a book in a unique style. Many people find that history is very boring. You will find people saying it's very boring. It's only about the dates, about the people. There are no events. Means one does not find it very interesting. And most of the books are written in that way only. So I made an effort to write in very simple English, fast-paced, crisp, on the pattern of the thriller. So one can finish it within 2 or 3 readings, 2 or 3 sittings. As I told you, I am engineer with IIT Roorkee degree. So I try to integrate many engineering or management theories with the history.
So can I ask a question also here? So yeah. In the आपके book compile करने में आपने कौन से sources को refer किए?
Pardon?
What sources did you refer to in order to write the book primarily?
Yeah, I have given one big bibliography at the end of my book. So the majority is a major reference is the book by Mr. Andre Wink, Mr. Jadunath Sarkar, one Mukhopadhyay is there, and J.L. Mehta. These 4 authors I have primarily dependent on.
Okay.
And I have also read the Romila Thapar also, though she is have a different mindset as compared to me, but still she has written something. So I try to analyze in some different way than she has done.
Yeah.
So also many people ask why conflicts happen, why humans are not peaceful. So actually, I have also written, I have devoted one chapter on it, that in the Maslow's hierarchy needs, that pyramid, at the top is the self-actualization and need for the freedom and control. So humans have basically contradictory needs of controlling others. So that's why there's a power struggle, and enjoying the freedom themselves. So there's a contradictory needs. So there has to be a conflict in between because of these 2 factors. So like in animal kingdom, animals too fight over the territory, over the food, over the females. But nowadays, wars between the 2 nations have restricted to territory only. So a smart human or smart nation may not love the war, but no, it is very inevitable. So societies and nations who want to live with the dignity must always be prepared for the war. So here, I think 1 millennium back, we have faltered here in this area. So we were not prepared for the war. We were not prepared. We did not know what the invaders are doing back home at that time. What Mahmud Ghaznavi is doing, what Muhammad bin Qasim is doing at that time. So we were not very keen on military matters at least. Though we were building the magnificent temples, we were doing extraordinary scientific work, but somehow in technology-wise, we were held back.
So what era would you say that this fall started taking place in military?
I think after the Huns invasion in 600 CE. After that, decline now started. And till that time, 600 CE, Guptas were ruling all over the India. So India, though there was no nation as such, but it was integrated in one nation sort of. So that's why India was strong at that time till Guptas. But after their decline, our decline also started. So this is a reference to a game theory. So it's a small matrix, 2 by 2 matrix. So here we can see in the left quadrant, peace. So for the peace, I have given 2 points. For war, the winner gets 3 points and loser gets 0 point. So we can see when there are peace between the two nations. So the total outcome is 4. But if there's a war, the outcome is only 3. So in the cases of war where both the sides loses, both the sides incurs heavy loss, then there's no win-win situation. So in the peace, so there's a win-win situation. So India always at that time professed the peace because of the influence of Buddhism, because of influence of Jainism. We were emphasizing on the Satya, Ahimsa and Shanti. So maybe that was the reason where we did not focus much on the military matters.
So on that point, in the book, you're also citing that the Hindus allowed their strength to be wasted in internal division and war.
Yeah.
And they had adopted religions like Buddhism and Jainism, which unnerved them for the tasks of life. They failed to organize their forces for the protection of their frontiers and their capitals, and their wealth and freedom from the hordes of Scythians, Huns, Afghans, Turks hovering. So basically, would you say that this decline, though it started, you say, in the 6th century, but it actually really began around the time of Buddhism and Jainism era?
Yeah, it might be. Because you can say Buddhism and Jainism both are very ideal religion. When everybody is rooting for the peace, for the Shanti, for the Satya, then it is okay. But only one society is professing for the peace or the Shanti, then it doesn't take you anywhere. And the invaders especially, they started treating as a banana republic sort of, as they thought we are very soft community. So anytime they can come, invade us, loot us, plunder us, and then they will go back. So that's why Mahmud Ghaznavi came 17 times in 25 years. And he always looted, plundered, never he faced any defeat.
Okay.
So the first invasion started in from the Arabs, Muhammad bin Qasim in 700 CE, when he defeated Raja Dahir in Sindh. Then again, after that, there were stiff resistance from the Rajputas and Chalukyas. So they could not extend their territory beyond the Sindh. So they were restricted only to Sindh. So they tried to attack under Al-Junaid. There was a commander. So he tried to annex Punjab and Kashmir. But Kashmir had a very powerful king at that time, Lalitaditya. So he repelled him. So that's why from 700 till 1000 CE, there was virtually no invasion. So after that, at around 10,000 CE, the Turks from Central Asia, they started coming, raiding India. Around 800 CE, they all converted from Buddhism to the Islam. Somehow they were very peaceful people. Then after the advent of Islam, suddenly their outlook changed. And they started looking for the annexing the territories, looting neighboring countries, like that. So after that, 1025, also there was no invasion because of the stiff resistance again by the Hindu kings. But we could not hold for much. And from 1175, Muhammad Ghori started attacking us. And in 1192, he was able to establish Delhi Sultanate after defeating Prithviraj Chauhan in Second Battle of Tarayan. So, as I told you, till 700 CE, all these Turks, especially the people from Samarkand and Bukhara, where from their Silk Road passed through. So they had all kind of Buddhist monasteries dotted along the road from China till Rome. So they used to take their livelihood after offering their food, offering them the food, offering them the resting place, and providing other provisions. And they had a very unique terrain, which is called steppes. So there's a very ideal for the horses. So these Turkish horses were very, very sturdy, and they could travel for days without water, like camels can do. So their main strength was basically horses. And from the childhood, they were adept in riding it. So after the 8th and 9th century, they started innovating. They started investing in the technology, especially in military technology. So they modified the horse saddle, which was made of camel leather. So it was very comfortable, and they could ride the horse whole day. And then there is a metallic stirrup where they can put their shoe. So पहले वो लकड़ी का होता था, फिर बाद में वो मेटालिक का स्टार्ट कर दिया उन्होंने. तो मेटालिक was very lightweight and sturdy. So it was also very comfortable for the horse also.
So ये लगता है they must have borrowed it from the Europeans, na? This technology, I think.
It might be.
Because medieval Europe also had chainmail and other such technologies.
Right. But here Indians, as I talked earlier, Indians were lacking in these things. In these things, they were using the wooden stirrups. Horse saddle was also very uncomfortable, and because of hot weather, we didn't have any chainmail or armor. Our soldiers used to fight with bare bodies, only with their dhotis and something like that. Upper bodies were totally naked. So any chance arrow or any spear, then they get used to killed. So their logistics also very interesting. So because of their sturdy horses, they used to travel 100 kilometers per day. And they used to take the dried meat with them. And wherever they stayed, they used to boil the dried meat and then eat it. Or if the villagers offer something, then they used to subside on that. And because of their skills, they can fire 6 arrows per minute from fast galloping horse. And they also used to have 3 spare horses per soldier. So वो लोग rotate करते थे रास्ते में. एक horse थक गया, then दूसरे पे shift हो जाएंगे वो लोग. And from जो 3 horses होते थे, उसमें एक female horse भी होता था. So that way they can have its milk. Or अगर in any emergency situation, they used to kill the horse also for its meat. So the battle strategy was also better than our Hindu kings. They devised one reserve battalion. So whole day this unit was resting, and in the evening when their main soldiers used to get tired, then they used to deploy these reserve soldiers. So they were fresh, they were energetic, and they used to destroy the enemies. Another thing, they were having a very strong spy network, like Mahmud Ghaznavi. He had a very strong network, and उनको सब पता होता था कि which Hindu temple has most wealth, किसको कब लूटना है. तो एक expedition पे वो next expedition की planning करता था वो. They have a strategy also, like they employed full-time soldiers.
Achha.
In Hindu kings, most of the soldiers were either carpenters. आप लोगों ने 300 मूवी देखी होगी, टाइटल 300. वहां पे जैसे वो बोलता है कि क्या करते हैं यहाँ पे सोल्जर्स, तो some were artisans, some were carpenters, some were farmers. So like that was with India also. So at the time of the war, they used to call all these people कि आ जाओ भाई, let's fight. So basically there was no training for them.
तो यहाँ एक प्रश्न उठता है कि हमारे जो वर्ण व्यवस्था थी, जहाँ बोले कि क्षत्रियज आर द ओनली पीपल हु साइन अप एज सोल्जर्स, तो वो प्रथा नहीं थी वो समय की. वो प्रथा
मोस्टली दे यूज्ड टू एम्प्लॉय क्षत्रियज आल्सो ओनली, बट इन द केस ऑफ बिग enemy like Mahmud Ghaznavi or Gori, they used to call all the people who were interested. तो बट नाम के लिए वो स्ट्रेंथ होती थी, बट दे डिडंट नो अबाउट द बैटल, हाउ टू फाइट, how to draw the bow, how to throw the spears. So, and the another system was ICTA. It was a contractual system, like हमारे बाद में मनसबदारी आ गया, सामंतवादी था. उसमें in the ICTA system, what used to happen? They used to appoint the governor in the neighboring territories, and they gave the rights to those governors to take the revenue. And in the in the time of war or in the time of expedition, they had to deploy their soldiers. So what was the reasons for the invasions to India? Why they decided to invade India, not China? In history, you will see very few attempts were made to the China by these Turks. Chinese were basically attacked by the Mongols from the north. That's why they have made the Great Wall of China. So एक question ये भी है कि we were delivering 25% of GDP at that time. तो हमने क्यों नहीं Great Wall of China types कुछ बनाया हमने? Especially जब फायान और ह्वेनसांग आए थे 5th-6th century में, तो उन्होंने बताया होगा कि हमने चाइना में इतनी बड़ी वॉल बना रखी है. So why didn't we think? We don't know. This is mystery only. We were so much. We had so much of money. We could have made it across the Khyber Pass.
इस पे एक पॉइंट रेज होता है कि आजकल अब ये पैसिफिस्ट को देखोगे ग्लोबली, then they are all looking to say कि अरे why should you spend money on military expenditure? Spend it on the poor, spend it on development.
Yes, yes.
ये भी necessary होता है.
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल. Security is primary thing. Without security, there is nothing. So the reasons were basically India was the richest country at that time, and as I discussed earlier, India was considered very soft country because of the emphasis on this Satya, Shanti and Ahimsa. So risk was pretty low for them. तो वो जानते थे कि वो लोग आएंगे, लूटेंगे और वापस चले जाएंगे. There will be no cost for them basically. And India was a kafir country for them. They wanted to convert into the Islamic country.
That's why Hind.
Yeah. And so because of these reasons, ROI, return on investment on the raids for Mahmud Ghaznavi was up to 10. So he looted 10 times what he invested in raiding it. Even Muhammad bin Qasim in 710C, he returned with 12 million dirham, while he invested only 6 million. But as people say, we could not pose any resistance to these invaders. So I have made a list in first 300 years from 724 to 1191. These many Hindu kings were able to defeat Arabian and Turkish invaders. Like first, after the Muhammad bin Qasim annexed the Sindh in the Islamic territory, in 724, Lalitaditya repelled Al-Junaid, who was the successor of Muhammad bin Qasim. Then Al-Junaid again tried to attack Gujarat and Rajasthan. So there was a one king, Nagabhat I. He repelled in 725. Then Jayabhat Pulkeshin defeated Al-Hakam, who was again successor of Al-Junaid. And he defeated near Navsari, near Bombay. Then 738, Bappa Rawal defeated Arab army. So many of the people don't know, but the Rawalpindi, the city of Rawalpindi is named after the Bappa Rawal.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can see in 839, Mihir Bhoj, then 1034, Suhel Dev, Naiki Devi near the Mount Abu. She defeated Muhammad Ghori. She could have killed Muhammad Ghori at that time, but because of the emphasis on Dharma Yudh, because he was unarmed, she didn't kill him, and he escaped. And then he again came back to India in 1191 to fight with Prithviraj Chauhan. And again, same mistake was done by Prithviraj Chauhan. He was unconscious. Ghori was unconscious in the battle and was lying unattended. He could have killed him, but he didn't. And then again next year, rest is history.
So we hear the story that he let him go 16 times के वैसा कुछ था. So is that just a story or is there any fact to it?
Who?
पृथ्वीराज चौहान ने गौरी को जाने दिया, आई थिंक 15-16 बार, वैसा कुछ वो स्टोरी.
Only one time. There were two battles basically. One in 1191, another in 1192. Mahmud.
Because it seemed a bit unbelievable that, you know, that's why I was.
Yeah, but Mahmud Ghaznavi invaded us 17 times in 25 years. And we couldn't do anything. So that was a very sorry case from our side.
One more question is कि नायकी देवी जो आपने पीछे बताया था,
yeah,
was it very common to see such Hindu women warriors, or were there like very few, like one or two here and there?
At that time, one or two only, which is written in history. One is Naiki Devi, and then after 50-60 years, there was one Kurma Devi. So that I also mentioned in my book, but that is not a, maybe that's a folklore. So all these four authors didn't write about her, Kurma Devi. Neither Wink nor Jadunath Sarkar, nobody mentioned her.
Okay.
So though I wrote one page about her, but it is not proven. So the next table is ethnic fractionalization index. So what is ethnic fractionalization index? It means how diverse is one country. So index 1 means the country is very diverse. So that way Papua New Guinea is the most diverse country in the world. So you can see Uganda, South Africa, Australia, India, they are all at the top with 1.8 index. And at the bottom, you will find the economical progressive countries like UK, France, European countries, China, Japan. All these are very homogeneous countries. So I try to find out the correlation between the ethnic diversity and the economic progress and social parameters. So you can see Uganda, Papua New Guinea, India, Kenya, Somalia, all are besetted with the ethnic conflicts. There's always some type of conflicts is going on because of the diversity. So we all are very proud of this fact that unity in diversity, it sounds very good, but actually it has a horrendous repercussions. So because of the conflict, our progress cannot be better. It will always be average. So those who think कि हमारा country इतना diverse है, and then we will able to deliver China-like economic progress. So these two factors are the mutually exclusive.
Actually, diversity would have to be a weakness because then you're too busy fighting your own internal people. You can't have resources for outside attacks.
Yes. And most of the countries are basically indulging in the ethnic cleansing, like China. They are उन्होंने Han Chinese करके एक native community है, उनको एक ही घेटों में शिफ्ट कर दिया है shift. And in like Bangladesh, you see there were too many Hindus, but now it's most of the parts are basically, I think at the time of 1971, Hindus were 23%. Now they are only 2%. And now in many parameters, Bangladesh is ahead of us. So there's another correlation between diversity and the economic progress. And in the top, you can see there's one country which is outlier is Australia. But I think we can ignore Australia because its population is hardly few crores, while ours is 100 crores. So it's very, very difficult to manage diverse country with 130 crore population like India.
Right.
So the next is why India is still a Hindu majority country. You will find that many of the ancient and glorious civilizations like Persian civilization, Egyptian civilization, Greek civilization, who were at very advanced stage at that time, they were all crushed by these Abrahamic religions, by Islam or Christianity. So Egyptian and Persian were converted into the Islamic societies, and Greek were converted into a Christian society. So there is no culture जो है उनका भी चल रहा है. But India, at least we are having our own traditions, our own culture, our own religion. So what was the reason for this? One foremost reason is retaliation by Indian kings. We could put up the stiff resistance to them. And the second is invaders, because we were so rich. So they were basically preoccupied with looting and destruction of temples. So they were not very interested in converting. And also they used to get hefty jizya, the tax, which they used to accept from the non-Muslims. So if उनको convert कर दिया Hindus को, तो उनको जजिया नहीं मिलता. So it was not a KPI for them. So they were content with looting only, and looting and ruling only. And last but not the least, we were too big at that time also, and over a large landmass. From today's Afghanistan till Assam, Burma, we were all the part of India at that time. So it was very difficult for them. Again, I tried to link it with network theory. So in network theory, there are two basic networks. Like one is random network, another is consolidated networks. So in the random network, you can see there are thick blue dots, thick black dots. So all these black dots are basically power centers. So India represents this random network. So even if you attack one power center, other power centers will act as if nothing has happened. They will keep on thriving. They will keep on living. So, so what will happen? You cannot destruct this network entirely. But on the flip side, its performance will always be very low because of it will be very inefficient. Okay. And in consolidated network, there will be one power center. So if you are able to destruct this one, the whole society, whole civilization will go down. So basically this happened with the Persian and Egyptian civilizations. And on the other side, their performance will always be astounding, like for Europeans and American countries. So they have to just give one fatwa or give one sermon from the church, and these ideas will be implemented.
But so that's very interesting point आपने brought up क्योंकि जो भी great civilization का collapse हुआ है, they were concentrated networks like Romans बोलो या Greeks बोलो कोई भी.
Right. So I think nowhere in the history book this is connected with the this network theory is connected with the history. So this is totally my idea. One brainchild. One day I got.
Great idea.
Yeah, thanks. So again, I tried to correlate it with the sine curve. So India represents the sine curve, and that this triangular curve, triangle is basically of all homogeneous countries, single-minded countries. So you can see the economic progress is again very fast in single-minded countries, while in India it will be very gradual. Similarly, decline will will be very gradual for India, but it will be instant for the single-minded countries.
Okay.
Then again, there's a bell curve. So you can see at the peak, at the Vijayanagar or ancient India, or at the peak of Mughal Empire when Akbar was ruling, we were basically consolidated into one kingdom. So we were innovating the things also. We were offering the stability also. But in the pre and post Mughal India, there was a very less propensity to innovation, and there was no stability also. Sultanate every 50 or 60 years, राजा जो है वो सुल्तान चेंज हो जाते थे दिल्ली में. So again, this table is by I think Richard Eaton. उन्होंने एक टेबल बनाई है ये कि from the first AD, how countries fared. This is basically GDP of the countries from first AD till 2003. So you can see from first to 1700, we were delivering the best GDP, and first 2000 AD, I think we were delivering we and China both were delivering 50% of GDP of the world. You can see in first AD, UK was having only $320 million, while we were having 33,000. So our decline basically started after the arrival of British only. When in 1820, see the figure of 1820, China was delivering double of our GDP. They were at 2,28,000 and we were lagging behind at 1,11,000 only. From there was a very swift decline in, at least in economic progress.
So would you say under the Mughal rule, the decline was under military and other cultural parameters, but not
Right.
so much economic, and then that led the weakening of the Indian subcontinent for the Britishers to take advantage of?
Yes.
Okay.
Even when these Europeans started coming in 1600 and 1700 AD, India was still considered a very rich country. तभी वो लोग इतना दूर से यूरोप से आए वहां यहाँ पे. There were so many expeditions from Europe to India. So basically, because of our Gangetic and Indus Valley, Gangetic and Indus basin, we were very fertile country. So we were delivering bumper agriculture year after year. So that's why I think we were very rich. Until I think Aurangzeb in 1600, India was integrated in one society, or you can say one country.
Okay.
So that's why our economic decline was not much. But after the arrival of British, it steadily went down. And after the independence in 1950, we again made a wrong choice. We went after the 5-year plan of Mahalanobis and Nehruvian socialism. So again, after 1991, again we are finding our bearings. So while researching my book, I found one very interesting fact. How do you count your dead? So the counting of the dead is very important parameter. ये हमेशा से रहा है, आजकल भी रहता है ये. So like in हमेशा 2 या 3 estimate होते हैं. One is from the losing side, another is from the winning side. Winning side will always exaggerate it. Losing side will always underestimate it. And one will be near truth, the middle one. So how do you find the estimate, correct estimate? So I have given one example that like 150, 200 and 1000. So how will you arrive at the truthful version? So if you take the arithmetic mean, it will be 450, median will be 200, geometric mean will be 310. So basically, so societies nowadays also, they go for the geometric mean of all the estimates. So what happens?
Can you say a little bit more about the geometric mean? Like how is it being calculated?
Yeah. So it reflects the lower estimates, and while acknowledging the higher one exists, means सारा data को वो लोग geometric mean जो है वो count करता है.
Okay.
जबकि arithmetic mean just average निकाल देता है. तो एक consensus बन गया है. तो जैसे UNO है, आजकल कोई भी अटैक होता है कहीं पे, like one conflict is going on in Armenia, between Armenia and Azerbaijan. So there are too many casualties. Armenia कुछ बोलता है, Azerbaijan कुछ बोलता है. तो UNO decide करती है ज्योमेट्रिक मीन के बेसिस पे कि कब उनको इंटरफियर करना है, कब उनको इंटरवीन करना है, कब उनको हेल्प देनी है. तो इसलिए दिस इज वेरी, आई फाउंड इट वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग. सो आई विल कंक्लूड दिस विद अ कपलेट. किसी ने पूछा, युद्ध और बुद्ध तो 2 विपरीत ध्रुव हैं. तो मुस्कुराते हुए विराथू ने कहा, युद्ध ना हुआ तो बुद्ध मारा जाएगा. So I finish it with this couplet. Thank you so much.
Hey, wonderful. Thank you so much, Amit ji. That you gave such a great presentation, and I think आपने ये history की हकीकत थोड़ी present की है, which not many people do. And usually what we see is that अगर हम textbooks को देखें, तो the narrative is basically that India prospered a lot under the great Mughal kings, but we see that it wasn't true prosperity, because even though the economic decline was not super significant, there was a great decline in culture. There was a weakening of Hindu kings. There was a weakening of society. हमारी पूरी व्यवस्था को उन्होंने बिगाड़ दिए, and that just paved the way for the Britishers to come and create more problems. And as I was going through the book, I also saw that the Islamic invaders used so much violence actually in their invasions, and they were very cutthroat and ruthless. And आपने थोड़ी धर्म युद्ध versus चाणक्य नीति, you had spoken about that. So could you give a little bit of insights on that as well?
Yeah, actually ये धर्मयुद्ध हम लोगों का महाभारत टाइम से चला रहा है. तो रूल्स जो है उसमें बनाए गए थे कि शाम के बाद जो है वो कोई युद्ध नहीं होगा. और शाम के बाद एक दूसरे के कैंप में जाके हालचाल पूछना उनका, किसी ने हत्या को नहीं मारना, अनआर्म्ड पीपल वोंट बी किल्ड, और जो चैरियट वाला चैरियट से लड़ेगा, cavalry will only fight with cavalry, so no intermingling between cavalry and infantry. So those concepts were continuing from the Mahabharata times, and we could not understand that these invaders are different. इनके साथ धर्म युद्ध नहीं हो सकता, इनके साथ वो सब कॉन्सेप्ट इनके साथ नहीं है. But we failed in fact to learn about कुटा युद्ध, जो चाणक्य ने हमको बोला था कि बहुत जगह पे धर्म युद्ध नहीं चलता है, उसके लिए हमें कुटा युद्ध अपनाना पड़ता है. तो वो लेकिन हम कभी सीख नहीं पाए, और इनफैक्ट वो आज की डेट में भी हम सीख नहीं पाए. आई थिंक 1 month बैक आई वाज रीडिंग अबाउट टाइम्स ऑफ इंडिया, तो उसमें वो एक वो आया था, किसी आर्मी ऑफिसर का एक इंटरव्यू था कि जो पाकिस्तान अभी भी जो टेररिस्ट भेजता है, पहले आर्म्ड भेजता था विद ऑल AK-47 एंड ग्रेनेड्स इन कश्मीर बॉर्डर्स. तो आर्मी वाले पकड़ते थे तो उनको दे यूज्ड टू किल देम. Then they later found कि Indian army didn't kill the people who were unarmed. So Pakistan, what they started doing, they used to send unarmed terrorists across the border, and they used to send the arms by another route, by the drones. So even if army catches these terrorists, then they go scot free. कि हम तो गांव वाले हैं, हम गलती से आ गए, like that. तो वो अभी भी चल रहा है वो.
और फिर वो पूरा मामला लाइक डॉक्यूमेंट्स नहीं दिखाएंगे, दिखाना ही पड़ेगा ना. तो so you also spoke शास्त्री. so one observation I have is कि ये जो हम महाभारत की बात करें और धर्म युद्ध की बात करें, तो वो समय के लिए जो धर्म था that was relevant in the times of महाभारत, because पांडवा की साइड देखो, कौरवा की साइड देखो, चलो उन्होंने थोड़े दिन के बाद कपट चालू किया, 10 दिन के बाद कुरुक्षेत्र युद्ध में, लेकिन उसके पहले people were usually fair and just and honorable in the way they fought wars. लेकिन that same dharma yuddha itself should have been called dharma yuddha afterwards also, but evolving for present times. लेकिन वो लोग rigid रह गए, उन्होंने अपने standards change नहीं किए. That was the problem. नहीं तो in fact I would say that even the Kuta Yuddha is actually dharma yuddha only, but it is the right dharma for the current era.
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल. हम लोग आज 700 years के लिए हम लोग नहीं होते गुलाम अगर पृथ्वीराज चौहान ने उस समय मोहम्मद गौरी को मार दिया होता.
बराबर, that's true.
He was lying for 7-8 hours in a battlefield. And पृथ्वीराज चौहान knew कि वो ऐसे पड़ा हुआ है. He was lying uninjured, bleeding profusely. But क्योंकि नहीं मारना है तो उसको छोड़ दिया उसको. Similarly, नाइकी देवी also made the same mistake. वो भी अपने घोड़े से गिर चुका था मोहम्मद गौरी, उसको मार सकती थी बट नहीं मारा उसको.
और चलो मारना भी नहीं था, एटलीस्ट पकड़ लो उसको. Yes. जाने मत दो. So that is true that we create our own downfall by being too nice, and this ahimsa, satya, dharma, वो सब तो थोड़ा problematic हुआ ही.
Yes.
और one more important thing you mentioned आपके book में, कि you talk about historicity and chronology of history and capturing our history correctly. So there's one quote you quoted Al-Maruni. It says, unfortunately, the Hindus do not pay much attention to the historical order of things. They are very careless in relating the chronological succession of their kings, and when they are pressed for information or at a loss, not knowing what to say, they invariably take to tale telling. So maybe आपको इस पर अगर थोड़ा highlight करना हो तो.
Yeah, basically जैसे हिंदूज मानते हैं कि ये सब कॉस्मिक है, ये एक डांस चल रहा है, कॉस्मिक डांस जो हमारे ब्रह्मांड में, तो इसमें जो डेली लाइफ है उसकी कोई अहमियत नहीं है, ये सब मिथ्या है ये. तो वी हैव नॉट पेड एनी मच फोकस, मच इंटरेस्ट ऑन द हिस्ट्री टू द एटलीस्ट टू द डे टू डे लाइफ, कि इस ईयर में ये हुआ, इस ईयर में ये हुआ. तो जो वेस्टर्न नोशन है कि हिस्ट्री ऐसी होनी चाहिए, या जो अरेबिक नोशन है या जो इस्लामिक नोशन है कि हिस्ट्री शुड बी लाइक दैट, तो वैसी हिस्ट्री हम वी डिडंट राइट.
And what would you say were the reasons that we did not write? क्योंकि we were so advanced in every other field. हम science देखो, technology देखो, mathematics, literature, poetry, जो भी हो, like India was very advanced. History में क्यों नहीं बना?
हाँ, हिस्ट्री में मे बी कि एक तो हम लोग जो है वो बेसिकली एक तो भोजपत्र पे लिखते थे हम लोग, नंबर 1। we didn't have paper like Chinese. तो वो भोजपत्र जो है उसकी शेल्फ लाइफ 10, 15, 20, 50 years होती थी उसकी. Then we have to, somebody has to rewrite it. तो कभी वो खो गए, कभी खराब हो गए, कभी जल गए, कभी कुछ हो गया, तो उसकी वजह से भी बहुत लॉस हुआ. प्लस एज आई डिस्कस अर्लियर कि वी वर नॉट वेरी फॉन्ड ऑफ हिस्ट्री इन दैट वे. हम लोग उसको कहानी की तरह मानते थे उसको, कि ये हुआ, ये फिर से रिपीट होगा, ये चलता रहा है, ये फिर से 100 साल बाद आएगा, एक बार फिर से प्रलय होगी, फिर से ये यही सेम चीज रिपीट होंगी. तो इसका कोई सिग्निफिकेंस नहीं है. इनका कॉस्मिक डांस जो हो रहा है उसके उसमें हम लोग बहुत तुच्छ हैं, हम लोग बहुत छोटे हैं हम लोग, तो उसके लिए हम लोगों ने ज्यादा फोकस नहीं किया. मे बी दैट इज द रीजन.
और आपने राइटली पॉइंट आउट किया कि देयर वाज अ लिटिल बिट ऑफ फिलोसॉफिकल मिसगाइडेंस आल्सो, कि लोग एज यू सेड कि लोग बोले ये सब मिथ्या है, ये सब माया है, तो क्या करने का. तो देयर इज वन नाइस स्टोरी दैट माय गुरु यूजुअली सेज अबाउट सच पीपल, कि एक बार एक राजा था, उनके 2 मिनिस्टर्स थे, तो दे हैड गॉन हंटिंग इन द फॉरेस्ट, और एक मिनिस्टर था वो अद्वैती मिनिस्टर था, एंड द अदर वन वाज जस्ट एन ऑर्डिनरी गाय. तो क्या हुआ कि जब वो हंटिंग के लिए गए तो उन्होंने देखा कि हाथी आ रहा है हमारे पास, हमारे डायरेक्शन में दौड़ रहा है, तो चलो भागो भागो. तो सबसे पहले जो दौड़ा वो अद्वैती दौड़ा. तो फिर जब वो वापस किंगडम में गए तो दूसरे वाले मिनिस्टर ने उसको टोना मारा कि अरे देखो देखो राजा, ये अद्वैती है, बोलता है कि सब कुछ मिथ्या है, लेकिन सबसे पहले तो वही भागा, तो कितना कायर होगा वो. तो फिर वो अद्वैती आया और उससे बोला कि हाँ, मैंने बोला कि सब कुछ मिथ्या है, वो तो सही है, लेकिन मैंने कहा बोला मेरा भागना सत्यम था. So that means that the lesson is कि चलो, while everything is mithya, we still have to behave as though there's a game that we have to play, there's a role we have to play, and we cannot be escapists. Or even though I indulge a little bit in philosophical discussions क्योंकि I study the shastras and all, मैंने अपने खुद के कम्युनिटी में देखा है कि लोग एस्केपिस्ट बन जाते हैं, वो स्पिरिचुअल एस्केपिज्म हो जाता है ना. तो बेसिकली लाइफ में क्या करने का, हमको जाने का ही नहीं एक दिन. तो that is a big problem in our community.
Yes.
It seems that problem has been there for so long.
Yes.
But there's one more component अगर आपको इस पर थोड़ा बोलना हो तो, कि जो हमारे पौराणिक और ऐतिहासिक accounts हैं, in some ways I see a pro and con to the history. I feel that is one level of history जहाँ the stories are eternal. क्योंकि आज हम रामायण की बात करें तो it is as relevant today as it was 1000, 2000, 3000 years ago. The same stories, the same teachings will always continue to apply. अभी भगवत गीता का जो उपदेश था, it was as relevant then as well. But in some sense, one may argue that if you begin to put historical chronology to these events, it somehow loses its level of timelessness. So what I would actually propose is कि चलो that parallel version of the Hindu history without as Rajiv Malhotra ji आपने सुना होगा, वो भी बोलते हैं वो we are not historicentric. So that means that timeless essence you can maintain, लेकिन on the side we should have a set of scholars who are actually rigorously maintaining the chronology also. So that way 2 parallel systems हो जाते हैं और किसी को compromise नहीं करना पड़ेगा. What are your thoughts on that?
Yes, बिल्कुल true. आपने बिल्कुल सही बोला. I think there are few scholars like Mr. Nilesh Oak. He is doing research on the chronology of Ramayana and Mahabharata, and he is saying that Ramayana happened 14,000 years back. So he is researching, and I think वो जो कर रहे हैं बहुत अच्छा कर रहे हैं वो. And there is certain जो इसमें हमारी हिस्ट्री में भी मिलता है. Mainly in Hindu mythology and history many times mingle. तो पता नहीं लगता है कि कब mythology खत्म हुई, कब history चालू हो गई. So I think those scholars will do wonderful job.
Right. And that way, if you have those parallel streams, so लोगों को भी बनी रहे और लोगों को वो academic knowledge भी मिल सकता है.
बिल्कुल.
और अपने बुक में इस पर भी थोड़ा, अगर Aryan invasion theory is a big problem in terms of what to agree upon, what not to agree upon. So if you can speak a little bit, Aryan invasion theory, अगर उसके बारे में अगर आप कुछ बात कर सके तो आपने बुक में बड़ा लिखा हुआ था.
So basically 3 theory हैं इसमें. First is Aryan invaded us. Number 2 is Aryan migrated us peacefully. Migrated means they came peacefully and settled between the indigenous people. Aryan invasion theory says they invaded us, they killed all the indigenous people and then settled in India. And third is Aryans were the original people of India, and they went to Central Asia and Eurasia of that period. So Aryan invasion theory is now totally debunked. Basically, nobody vouches for that. Basically, वो अंग्रेजों ने वो बनाई थी ये कि to prove that their invasion is just one. कि इंडिया हमेशा से इन्वेड होता हुआ आया है. पहले आर्यंस थे, फिर मुगल टर्क्स थे, फिर मुगल थे, और अब हम लोग हैं. So that was a theory propounded by them. So, but I think Mr. Nilesh O has done a beautiful job in this, and he has also told कि migration theory is also not correct. कि वो लोग Central Asia से आए. In fact, we were the people who went to Turkey, who went to Central Asia and that Caspian Sea or Black Sea. वहाँ पे जाके हमारा kingdom वहाँ तक था उस समय. So, but discussion is going on, debate is going on.
What is your personal take?
My is Nilesh O जी क्या बोलते हैं? मैंने उनका एक बार 1 month back एक वेबिनार था, तो वो बोलते थे कि Indian kingdom was till Caspian Sea, from Indian Ocean till Caspian Sea we were one only. तो जैसे अभी आज हम बॉम्बे से दिल्ली जाते हैं या गुजरात से आसाम जाते हैं, वैसे ही उस टाइम पे लोग साउथ इंडिया से कैस्पियन सी जाते थे. तो दैट वे माइग्रेशन यूज्ड टू हैपन. So Aryan invasion theory, so it is, I don't vouch for that. I don't agree with that. But there's a conflict between migration theory and we going to the Central Asia. So I think this is best left for the experts. I am no expert in this.
Okay, but you've actually given very good overviews in the book. So, and you've given so many references also. So that's incredible.
Yeah.
One more question before then we'll jump into the audience question.
Yeah.
But one question I have is, you spoke a little bit about the Varna Vyavastha also. So what role did that play in terms of the invasion? And do you think, like what were the dynamics in society that allowed the invasion to take place?
Yeah, so actually Varna Vyavastha was not very rigid at that time, till 600 AD. After the invasions from the Arab and Turks, they started dividing us, and they compartmentalized in the 4 varnas ki ye Shudra hai, ye Brahman hai, ye hai. So what happened? We were divided into 4. The Hindu society itself was divided into 4 varnas, 4 parts, and as you see in the hierarchy, the Dalits were at the lowest. So they tried to convert them first. So that happened in Kashmir also. So उन्होंने सबको convert करने की कोशिश करी. सबसे पहले उन्होंने जो दलित थे उनको कन्वर्ट किया कि तुम इस्लाम में आ जाओ, आपकी हिंदू में अच्छी पोजीशन नहीं है.
So अमित जी, दलित का तो बहुत recent phenomena है ना, तभी तो दलित जैसा कुछ था नहीं.
Yeah, Dalit word is a new phenomena, but that word was age old. Like in Mahabharata, Karna was there. तो उनका भी ऐसी हुआ था, यहाँ पे भी ऐसी हुआ. So our society was divided from the time immemorial, though the classification was not that rigid. But
so there was more fluidity, you would say कि पहले वर्णा तो always था, लेकिन थोड़ा fluidity था, अभी थोड़ा crystallize हो गया.
बिल्कुल. तो उसका लाभ उन्होंने उठाया इस्लामिक इन्वेडर्स ने, तो उसको हमको फिर से काफी डिवाइड कर दिया उसको.
Wonderful. So अभी दो questions हैं please ask. First is कि Preet ji is asking, how will this book be different from Saffron Swords?
Saffron Swords? Yeah, Saffron Swords is basically about the stories of the Indian warriors, about the Hindu warriors who posed the resistance to the invaders. But my book is basically limited to the early medieval era, and there's quite a good analysis on that on my book. What were the factors? What were the conditions at that time? Why it has happened? What was the political thoughts at that time? What was the economic condition at that time? So I think though era might be same, but books are totally different.
Okay.
That is the story format. Mine is basically essay format.
Okay. And one more question is, why do you feel India's decline started when Mughals started ruling us? So I think you've mentioned this already, but if you'd like to just recap in.
Yeah, till basically Mughals like Akbar, Shah Jahan and Jahangir and Aurangzeb, we were all consolidated in one landmass, one territory. So because of that, there was a one king. No matter how cruel he was, it doesn't matter. But economic progress was going on, and they didn't take the wealth out of the India. Whatever they took the tax, they invested back in India only. But the Britishers were different. When they came, they started ruling us, and they started looting us and sending back to Britain. So that's why our when there's a one fact I think it's told by Mr. Shashi Tharoor that in 1600 CE, when first Britisher Mr. Thomas Roe came here, India's per capita income was 4 times that of Britain. But in 1947, when they left India, their per capita income was 4 times than that of India. So within the period of 300 years, 16 times they have their per capita income increased.
Right. Yeah. So, in some sense, economically, I would say that the Mughals still hurt India a lot. And the reason I say that is कि, first of all, that how उन्होंने हमारी wealth को export नहीं किया to the Mughal lands because they settled in India. Yeah. But that was, many people may take pride in that, oh, see, that was so good, but it was almost by design. Because they decided to live in India, so it was still for their own comfort. हमारे benefit में नहीं था, it ended up becoming a benefit. Or second thing is कि in spite of India being that rich, the Hindus were impoverished because of the 75% jizya tax. So that means that this is something that Shashi Tharoor and other secular people don't understand very well, because they say, see, India maintained its wealth, but the Hindus were actually impoverished because the Mughals took all the wealth away in taxes. So, but this is wonderful. I really got to learn a lot. Your book is actually fantastic. I would definitely recommend it to people. It's one of a kind. Or, आपका presentation भी great था, और many points got consolidated here as well. So, Miji, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll stay in touch, and really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaaya Purnameva Vashishyate.